In this video, I want to give you some suggestions for useful knitted gifts for babies. I have 2 daughters myself, as well as 3 nieces and 2 nephews and another one on the way. So I've discovered over the years which knitted gifts are useful and which are not. While there are many beautiful knitting patterns for babies out there, there are a couple that I tend to come back to over and over again because I know that they are actually going to be used and loved, and these are the ones I'm going to share with you today. Since sustainability is very important to me, I always aim to create and give gifts that are actually useful and that will indeed be used. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Annika and I'm coming to you from Germany. I am a natural yarn dyer as well as an avid knitter, and I basically love all things fiber arts. So, what can you knit for a baby year-round? Not all babies are being born in the colder months of the year, so for us in the northern hemisphere this would be fall and winter. But babies need to be kept warm and they usually require an additional layer compared to adults. So you can absolutely knit and gift something to a baby year-round. But if in doubt, you can always have a look at when the baby was born and how old it's going to be in the upcoming fall and winter season, and then just size up if you like. What you could also do is have a look at the yarn you're going to use. So you can make something out of a 100% wool yarn for the colder months, and you could go for a wool blend of wool and a plant-based fiber, so this will be a little bit less warm. Or if you are intending to make something that is going to be worn during summer, you could even go for a 100% cotton yarn, for example. Another suggestion I have is to check with the parents before you start making something. Now, if you are expecting yourself, you of course know what you want to make for your baby, but if you are making a gift for someone else, I always find it helpful to ask the parents first, and then you can even decide on a colorway or a yarn or even the pattern together. This way you can make sure that the gift will be appreciated. My first suggestion is to make a baby blanket. Now, baby blankets are great for various reasons. One of the reasons is that the size does not matter as much, so your gauge is not as critical. They also can be used for a long time. You can make them even as a beginner knitter if you choose a very simple pattern, or if you would like, you could also go for a very elaborate pattern. On top of that, there are a lot of free blanket patterns available, and we are going to have a look at a couple of them now. This pattern is called the Mosaic Blanket, and it is a free pattern by Pearl Soho. I actually knitted this blanket for my oldest niece. Unfortunately, I don't really have a good picture of it, but I chose a classic blue and white color scheme. I think this blanket looks very elegant, classic, and also complicated, but it is really not. The colorwork look is created by Mosaic Knitting, as the pattern name suggests, which is done by simply slipping stitches. So this is my first suggestion, and I know for sure that this gift was very well received, and my niece, or their parents rather, used it quite a lot when she was a baby. If you are looking for a very simple knitting pattern, you could have a look at this one. It is called the Neptune Baby Throw, and it is a pattern by Lion Brand, and you create this pattern by very simple gather rows. So you are just knitting back and forth. So this would be a very easy pattern to make, even for a beginner knitter. If you're looking for a more elaborate pattern, I think this one would be a great choice. It is the Pastel Rainbow Baby Blanket by Stitchy Linda Designs. I really like the look of this lace pattern. It is the classic feather and fern motif, and I think this would look really nice in a neutral main color along with a set of mini skeins, for example. I also wanted to show you one of the baby blankets that we have. We received this blanket as a gift from a good friend of mine when my oldest daughter was born. Let's see if I'll be able to fit it in the frame. Probably not. It is not really big, but it was plenty big for her at that time. We used it quite a lot when we went outside, and when she outgrew it, we put it in her memory bin. So this was a highly appreciated gift, and I especially appreciated it because my friend is not really a knitter, but she still took the time to make this blanket for my daughter. So what kind of yarn should you use for a baby blanket? Since the purpose of a baby blanket is to keep the baby warm, of course you should go for a warm yarn. Personally, I would always go with a natural fiber like wool, because it's also more sustainable and it can take up a lot of moisture. When knitting for a baby, I would choose something that is very cozy and soft. And I would also stay away from fuzzy fibers like mohair, because of course you do not want to irritate the baby's skin. My second suggestion for a knitted gift for a baby is a hat. In my opinion, you can never go wrong with a hat. There are a lot of baby hat knitting patterns out there, but there are for sure some that fit better than others. I'm going to show you two examples now of hat patterns that I've both made several times and that have fitted different baby hats quite well. The first suggestion that I have is this pattern, which is called the Bobble Hat. I absolutely adore this pattern. I think it looks absolutely cute. It is actually an old pattern from the 70s, I think, and you can get it for free. However, there is only one downside to it, and that's the fact that it's not really a pattern. It's more a set of basic instructions, and you will have to rework the math to make the hat fit not only the yarn you're using, but also of course the size of the baby's head you are making it for. But like I said, I've made this pattern several times for different babies and the fit was always really good. I'm going to put links to my Ravelry project pages of the two versions that I've made so far in the description box below for you. That way, if you're looking to make a similar size than the ones I made, you could use my project notes. The second baby hat knitting pattern that is one of my tried and true patterns is this Pixie Hat. It is called Wald Zwergenmützchen by Frau Kreativberg. If you know how to knit, purl and close the top of the hat off with a Kitchener stitch, then you can absolutely make this hat. It also fits very well and over a longer period of time due to the ribbing all throughout the hat. Unfortunately, this particular pattern is only available in German, but I did some research on Ravelry and I found another free pattern for a pixie hat that looks very similar. This one is called the Pixie Hat by Alison Henshaw. And I think you could absolutely go for this knitting pattern as well and achieve a similar effect. So what kind of yarn should you use for a baby hat? Since the baby hat is going to touch the baby's skin and of course also sits very close to the face, I would choose the softest yarn you can find. Like I said before about the blanket, I would also steer away from fuzzy yarns that could irritate the baby's skin, or even like have some loose pieces that are going in the baby's eyes or mouth. That would be horrible. So no mohair, at least in my opinion. Personally, I can recommend the Malabrigo lace and also the Sandnes alpaca silk. I have used both of these yarns for baby hats before and they are indeed very soft and lovely. My third suggestion for a knitted gift for a baby is socks. Now, I have to admit that I am a bit ambivalent when it comes to baby socks. When my first daughter was born, we received lots and lots and lots of socks for her. Of course, everybody likes to buy baby socks because they are just so tiny and cute. And I have to say, most of the socks that we got were store-bought and not hand-knitted. But in the first couple of months of her life, my daughter mainly wore sleepers. So they have the socks already attached to them. So we didn't really need any additional socks on top of that. And in addition, she preferred being in the stroller compared to being worn in a wrap, so we didn't really need those socks. But when my second daughter was born, this totally changed because she actually preferred being in the carrier over laying in the stroller. So we often put socks on her on top of what she was wearing to keep her feet extra warm. If you intend the socks to be worn outside when the baby is in a carrier or a wrap, I would even recommend making the socks a little bit longer so that they go up a bit more over the calves. So that way they are not going to fall off as easily when the baby is carried around outside. Now I also have a couple of suggestions for free baby sock knitting patterns for you. This is a pair I made for one of my nieces. It is a very simple 1x1 rib. Unfortunately, I do not have the exact pattern for this pair of socks because I made it up as I went. But for reference, let me check. I used a 2mm needle, which is a US 0, and I casted on 46 stitches to fit a 7-month-old baby. And my sister, who is the mother of my niece, or that niece, really appreciated these socks because this particular niece was also carried around a lot. If you're looking for a similar knitting pattern for ribbed socks, I had a look at Ravelry and I found this one. It is called the Wee Socks for Wee Feet by J.M. Cobb. And this is another pattern I made. It is the Perfect Newborn Socks by Tabitha Gandy. Tabby used to have a wonderful knitting podcast here on YouTube together with her sister Rachel called the Hey Sister podcast. And this is where I discovered this knitting pattern. It is also available for free and it comes in 2 different versions. I made the cabled version for one of my other nieces, and I think they were very useful for her as well. So those are my suggestions for knitted gifts for babies that truly get used. Now you're probably asking yourself, but what about toys and cardigans and dresses and rompers? There are so many pretty patterns available for babies. And I have to agree with you, there really are. And I also have to admit that I myself have knitted a number of stuffies as well. For example, this cute little teddy bear is called Donato and it is a crochet pattern that I made for my daughter, but she requested it. I personally would not take the time and make a stuffy for a baby without checking in with the parents beforehand, because especially when it comes to stuffies, you are probably going to receive a huge amount of stuffies when a baby is born as a new parent anyway. And it might very well be that your gift, your thoughtful, time-consuming gift, is not as appreciated just because there is a stuffy overload. So I would much rather go for one of the categories that I showed you before and create something that actually gets used. However, if you want to make something like a beautiful garment for a baby, I wanted to give you 2 suggestions of designers that have a number of very, very beautiful baby and toddler knitting patterns. The first one is Knitting for Olive. They have a huge array of beautiful patterns, as you can see here. And they even have their own yarn line. So you could easily choose a pattern and then order the specific yarn that was used to create the sample. And their yarns come in a large amount of very beautiful colorways. And my second suggestion is checking out PetiteKnit's baby and toddler knitting patterns, because she also has a number of different romper, cardigan, sweater, and so on patterns for babies. And I also think she has a very beautiful design aesthetic. So that's it for today. I hope you found this video useful. Please let me know in the comments below which baby knits you appreciated receiving, or maybe even which patterns you are planning to make right now. I would love to know. Until next time, see you. Bye guys.